I would certainly think so. That's the way we look at it. Probably a 50-year expectancy, yes. Yeah. And by the way, just so you know, the way we fund this, if it passes the override, and if it passes in town meeting, the Board of Selectmen ultimately have the final say as to how we fund it. Basically, it's bonded. It's like getting a mortgage. And we probably do it right now. We haven't nailed this down, but probably over 25 years at a flat rate. So for 25 years, we'd be paying off this project, and it would be paid off at a steady annual amount for those 25 years. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Is this a reimbursement of the costs, or will they share the costs up front?
It's the way the money's coming now, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody knows, but I think we're getting the money basically up front now. That's my understanding. The money comes in, and we get their share, and then we have to pay, obviously, over the 25 years. But that money's committed, it's earmarked, it's there, it's for us, if we choose to take it. Yes?
I may be wrong, but I think you're pretty much preaching to the choir here. Do you have a sense of what % of the taxpayers in town have children in the system?
It's actually what, in the system?
What % of the taxpayers?
I'm going to say, and again, I'm just going by old information that I had, but it's probably somewhat less than 20%.
So you need to sell this to...
Well, it's less than 20%, but you know what? A lot of the people like myself, like Jeff Simons, like Mel Webster, we've had kids that have already gone through the system. Our kids are done, they're graduated, they're gone. But we also appreciate the fact that our kids went through the system. So there's a lot of people like us, like Chuck Carucci. I mean, so hopefully those people will recognize the fact that the facilities were there for our kids, and now we're going to have the new facilities for the kids that are coming through the system. Hopefully. Anybody else? John. Oh, yeah, we do have some meetings coming up. January 9th, the school committee will be meeting at the high school. We'll do another brief presentation. We're trying to get as many people in to see this as possible. And then on January 18th, we're going to have a public forum at the high school auditorium. We already did one of these. It was very well attended. I think it went very well. And obviously, by January 18th, we'll have the most up-to-date information that we can have on the project, because we'll be a week away from the MSBA voting on this project. So again, this is ambitious, it's exciting, it's expensive, but I think it's a once-in-a-generation opportunity for North Reading to move into the 21st century with their schools, and it's happening all around us. It's happening in all the other, you know, whether it's Linfield or Masco or Wilmington or Tewksbury or Woburn, they're all building new facilities, and this is our opportunity to do this. Okay? Thank you very much. If anybody has any questions, feel free to hang around and ask, okay? Thank you. Mr. McCain, the floor is yours. Where do you go?
Test. Good evening and welcome to the J. Turner Hood School. We are very excited to host the school committee this evening. Want to start off just reminding everyone of our philosophy. As a school community, we believe that hand in hand together we can, and that we believe we can accomplish many goals if we're all cognizant of this and work collaboratively in order to meet the needs of our students in their best interest. This collaborative work was recently highlighted by some work that we did with the stormwater infiltration grant. So I've invited Mrs. Janet Nicosia to come tonight. Just wanted to publicly recognize her and thank her for all her efforts. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Larson up to the podium to speak to the stormwater runoff grant as well as to introduce our student council.
Thank you, Mr. McKay. Good evening, school board, Madam Superintendent, honored guests, staff, faculty, students. It's nice to see you all here this evening. Thank you for coming out. Somewhere around June of last school year, I was honored with the presence of Mrs. Janet Nicosia in our conference room with Mr. McKay with a large box. It was like Christmas in June. And I was presented with a wastewater management project that was coming my way. Surprise, I'm going home, it's June, and a new project. Oh joy. Well, I didn't realize how much I was getting myself into, but the journey that I've had over the last 8 months has been one of learning, excitement, and has given our students a chance to really understand and to live earth science in our classrooms here at the Hood. I personally would like to thank Mrs. Nicosia and the team that she brought with her here to the Hood School from the Martins Pond Water Management Committee, I believe we'll call it. Reclamation Study Committee. They have done a wonderful job and brought some wonderful things for our students to learn about and for our school to be, say, proactive. And I hope that a lot of the lessons we learn here we can take to our new middle school in the future and incorporate those lessons for those students as well. I'm a little jealous of those science labs, guys. Our students have worked hard and learned many lessons, and I'd like to present with you a video. We've made a few that are part of our learning here at the Hood. I hope that Mrs. Nicosia will come back in the years to come and join us once again for further lessons so that the materials that were purchased through our grant will be able to enable our future students to learn about stormwater management and wastewater runoff, and that they can do the same projects that everyone else did.
Water, water, water. It's everywhere. Well, almost. That's right. More of our planet Earth is covered with water than with land.
The water that's on Earth today is the same water that may have been a drink for a dinosaur billions of years ago.
Salt water and fresh water covers almost 3/4 of the Earth's surface, about 70%. Salt water is in the Earth's seas and oceans, accounts for the largest portion of water on Earth.
Do you know how much of the Earth's water is fresh water and how much is salt water? Almost 97% of all water on the Earth is salt water.
That only leaves about 3% of all the water on Earth that is fresh water. 2% of this 3% of the fresh water is frozen in the Earth's glaciers. Out of all the water on Earth, that leaves only 1% that is liquid water that we can use.
There is about 326 million trillion gallons of water on the Earth.
In the United States alone, we use 325 billion gallons of surface water and about 85 billion gallons of groundwater each day.
Surface water is used more often to supply drinking water and to irrigate crops, but groundwater is important too.
Groundwater helps to keep watersheds full, and it also supplies water for people in places where surface water is scarce, such as in desert towns of the western United States.
Water moves in a never-ending water cycle through evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and collection. Nature recycles Earth's water over and over again.
Today, Earth has almost the same amount of water as when it was first formed, and Earth will not produce or receive any more water.
Did you know that your body is 65% water? So if you weigh 100 pounds, 65 pounds of you is water. A gallon of water weighs about 8 1/3 pounds. An average person will use about 168 gallons or 20 pounds of water every day.
In the United States, we use approximately 25 trillion gallons or 500 trillion pounds of fresh water each year.
We are using our fresh water up at a rate that is faster than nature can renew and purify it. In the United States, more than 50% of our watersheds that renew and purify groundwater have been destroyed.
Today, Earth's fresh water supply is limited and threatened by pollution as well.
Look at all the ways we use water in our lives. When we shower, we use 25 gallons. When we conserve, we only use 4 gallons. When we brush our teeth, we use 5 gallons. But when we conserve, we use half a gallon.
To make our drinking water cold, we use 1 gallon. But to keep our water in the refrigerator, we use about 8 ounces. And if we do our dishes by hand, the tap running uses 30 gallons. But if we conserve, we can only use 5 gallons. But conservation can only do so much.
In North Reading, our local watershed is not any different than the rest of the watersheds all over our country and the rest of the world.
We are using water at an alarmingly fast rate. In fact, if we don't do something to slow down our ever-increasing uses of our fresh water supply, we may be in danger of running out.
If we all think and act locally, we can act globally to help our local and global watersheds.
Today, homes, businesses, shopping centers, schools, and other public buildings have taken the place of the native plants and grasses that were once growing where many parking lots or buildings now stand.
These man-made structures often don't allow rainwater to flow into our naturally occurring aquifers and slow the process of recharging our watersheds.
The parking lots and buildings can cause water runoff that can be a source of toxic pollution that can infiltrate our aquifers and groundwater.
In undeveloped areas, rainwater is unrestricted and may be absorbed directly into the ground. But when an area is developed, buildings and parking lots replace the natural places where the rain would normally infiltrate back into the ground.
These structures change the natural absorption of rainwater into the ground. When rain is not allowed to infiltrate into the ground, it tends to build up and may cause flooding that leads to erosion and pollution that can flow to other locations.
Set in an existing landscape in a place where it can receive rainwater runoff from roofs, sidewalks, and driveways. A rain garden is a shallow, sloping depression that is planted with deep-rooted native plants and grasses.
A rain garden will slow down the rush of water and hold it for a short period of time so that it can naturally infiltrate into the ground.
A rain garden can be thought of as a water treatment system because it filters the runoff from roofs and parking lots while it recharges the groundwater.
A rain garden conserves water resources by reducing the need for irrigation.
Rain gardens are a beautiful and colorful way for homeowners and businesses in towns to solve stormwater runoff problems.
In this way, our cities, towns, businesses, and homeowners can use natural processes to help relieve and control stormwater flow and pollution.
Changing the way we think about the environment around us is the key to understanding what we can do to limit and remove pollution from our community.
We can all help by allowing nature to continue in her efforts to reclaim the natural water cycle whenever possible.
In school, we have learned about how a rain garden like the one we built together can make a positive change in our local environment.
We have conducted experiments in our classrooms and on field trips that have shown us how the earth is a natural filter and can recycle the water if we are careful.
We have learned how the natural recycling systems of land and water conservation can keep our towns, cities, states, countries, and world free from damaging erosion and pollution.
With the help of concerned citizens who have volunteered in our schools, students from Merrimack College, preschool staff and students, and the DPW in the town of North Reading, we have made a difference.
We can all make our world a better place. By thinking and acting locally, we did make a real difference for the future.
Hand in hand we can all help to build a greener community now and in the future.
And our rainwater project was a lot of fun. We had 75 people come out that day, lots of lessons. We got a part of the grant, sent our children here at the Hood over to the Boot Cotton Mills, and we did a field trip. We had a great field trip, I should say, where the kids actually did some more experiments and learned more about wastewater management around cities, towns, and throughout Massachusetts. It's time for my second role for the evening, to introduce to you some of my newest friends for this year. A great bunch of students who work hard and have really embraced our sense of community in the school year. Our student council. Can we give them a round of applause? First, I'd like to introduce Mr. Samer Hamdar, who's